I am R1 Cameron, and this is the Conduit. How's everybody doing? It is St. Patrick's Day. It's Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. Hump Day. Hopefully everyone had a good, productive day. Our interview starts in about 2 minutes. We're going to jump right on into it tonight, getting everything together. Yesterday was a great interview, kind of recapping our hashtag G2 Stimulus 2021, where we were able to help another family in the community. G2, that's what we do. I hope everyone is doing well. Should have a great conversation tonight. Our guest, Elijah Miggs, has a lot to say, and so I'm really looking forward to having a chat with him. I love stimulating conversations, and I love talking to people from all walks of life. That's really important. As I told you before, it's the Conduit is about just that, just its namesake, right? Is being that device through which voices can be heard, both up and down and across whatever classification you want to put out there. And I think that is tremendously important. I think it is time, and I think a lot of folks are waking up right now and saying, hey, why not me? I have an opinion, I have a thought, I have an idea. These are things that I can do, and I'm not going to wait for permission or to ask for someone to see if this is something that is okay. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And to that end, that's what that looks like, right? If I didn't have that mindset, G2 would not exist. Some of the other programs that I have created in the past would not have existed. And so my hope is to find other folks that are doing some of those same things, and then yet still other folks that are like, you know what, I'm ready to jump in there and make my mark and change my part of the world. Because all we can do is try, right? There's no losses. There's only winning and learning. And so let's learn together and change our community for the better. So as I said, here at the bottom of the hour, our interview will be Elijah Miggs. We'll wait for him to come on in. Tomorrow we have Miss Anita, which will be a great interview. Been looking forward to talking to Miss Anita, one of my favorite people here in Kitsap County, just one of my favorite people, period. And then on Friday, we have Minister Ellington from New Horizon Baptist Church. So that'll be a good conversation also. So we had a full slate this week. 5 days a week is how we came to you this week. And so on and on we go. As you know, sometimes we have our challenges through Comcast and we'll get shut down, but do rest assured, we just reset everything and come on back, right? We will not be detoured. We will not be stopped. You can only delay the inevitable. As the Borg would say, resistance is futile. For all of you nerds out there. All right. So like I said, our guest tonight will be Elijah Miggs. Got a few things that are on my mind. I'm not going to go into it right now. Some good things, some concerning things. When you're doing this work and you're looking for folks to collaborate with, everyone isn't always going to be on the same page with you, of course. And so you have to find ways to either collaborate with people, go around, go above, go under, or go through. And so that's one of the situations that, I'm dealing with now. You have old mindsets that are in place of people that like to do things the way that they've always been done and can feel threatened when other folks want to come to the table. And if they want to come to the table with ideas and with power, right? So oftentimes people will allow you to sit at the table as long as you sit there quietly and allow them to dictate the terms to you. And you need to be satisfied with whatever the scraps may be that they decide to give you. And, for me, that's one of the reasons why we did not depend on really revenue streams from coming through Kitsap County, because it's just a fact. It's a truth. And that goes everywhere, right? The place that you're at, you can tend to find the most difficulty or stress. And so understanding that, it is what it is. And so you just got to go through what you got to go through. And see, just like clockwork, Zoom goes down. So it is what it is. Like I said, we will not be deterred. We're just going to go ahead and do what we got to do. But that said, it's difficult when you are the new kid on the block. And, when you are a junior to some of the elder organizations that exist out there, you will always be seen as that junior to them. And for a lot of folks, the thought of taking up some of the market share that exists and having some of your own ideas, can be perceived as a threat to folks. We've been doing it this way this whole time, so why would we now do it another way, right? And then all the questions come up. So it is just one of those things. It is unfortunate, but as I said, it's one of the reasons why we collect our revenue streams and kind of do our work in multiple arenas, quite literally. And self-sufficiency is just that, right? We don't want to become too dependent on one organization or another. Because depending on how things go, that relationship can be used as a albatross around your neck. Or is it the sword of Damocles? Am I quoting those things correctly? So anyway, I know I'm being somewhat vague because the one thing I don't want to do is just kind of put out here saying all those things out there. But I think it is important to have those conversations because you're going to face those types of adversities as you try to go forward in your life. And that's whether you go forward in your personal life, whether you go forward in an endeavor like an organization or a business. These are things that you are going to have to deal with, right? And so you're going to have to find a way to navigate those things. Especially if you find yourself in the position where you're not in the power position, right? And so that can be undoubtedly frustrating and stressful, especially as you try to figure out what is the best way to kind of go forward. And so that's really, what we're doing and kind of the lessons that I've learned. Going through this and lots of other challenges that I've gone through in my life. And I'm just thinking about it now. I haven't talked about me in a minute. So one of the things that I plan on doing with the Conduit is letting folks in a little bit more on who Marwan is and what makes Marwan tick, why I do the things that I do, and why I do them the way that I do them. So I think that insight can be helpful. I know that when I was teaching at the college, one of the things that was expressed to me was that I was very, what is the word I'm looking for? What did they call it? I'm sorry for sniffling. My allergies are beating me down. I appear to be out of flow days. But, my dad, when he raised us to be very guarded with our personal lives, right? You don't tell people, family business. You don't put that stuff out. And, for those of you that follow, that Kirk Franklin's son just released a recording. Now, this is a, 30-plus-year-old man who's in an argument with his dad and recorded the argument and then played it for everyone. So I think that's quite petty for a boy. You know, I won't say that he is a man acting in that behavior to do such a thing, right? There's got to be other ways to resolve that. And listening to some other folks today, you know, they spoke about how, you know, so many kids do not have, you know, their parents with them, and a lot, especially in the black community, are born into single motherhood, right? So the fathers are not there, and so to have, you know, Kirk Franklin there, you know, to give him, you know, the best life possible, give him opportunities at college and university and other advantages, and to kind of do those things is definitely, you know, tremendously disrespectful, right? But, you know, kids are hurt. And, you know, if you take that into your adulthood, then that's going to manifest in your life as an adult. You know, at 30-something years old, this is not something that he should be going through. But yet and still, it is something that he's dealing with. So, you know, it's unfortunate that that's the case. Definitely there's some counseling that is needed you know, for the son. And I'd say, you know, for the family overall, to try to work through those things and try to heal from whatever trauma existed or was created. But, you know, life is too short and life is clearly too hard to be going through those things, right? So unfortunate. Say pray for those folks, and hopefully they'll get some counseling. But that is definitely not a good way to go about. Well, I don't even know the purpose of it. Was it try to get attention? I think he just got the opposite. What's so funny about that, too, is, you know, I actually tried that with my dad, but I was quite a bit younger, right? I was in the 8th grade and getting ready to go into the 9th grade. And so, you know, when we moved to Seattle, I went to Broadview Thompson. And so, you know, with desegregation, you know, they would bus you here and they would bus you there to try to mix up the kids and whatnot. And so, you know, all of us went to the same school for 3rd grade, I think 1st through 3rd. And then all of us went to the same school for 4th through 6th. And then we went to the same junior high for 7th through 8th. And then the plan was to go to the same high school from 9 to 12, right? And so in the 7th grade, so I've been with my same classmates and my friends, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. I get to the 7th grade, and my dad decides to send me to a Catholic school. I am pissed, you know. All my friends, you know, I'm going to this Catholic school now. On top of that, I've got to take my 2 younger sisters and my brother to school with me. We're living in the Rainier Beach area. School's over in the Central District. So now we're on the number 7, going across town to school. And man, I was so mad because I wanted to go to, you know, Ace Mercer with all my friends, right? And here I am, you know, getting to be one step before high school. You know, we get the lockers, and now we've got periods, you know, different periods in class. And now I'm in a Catholic school, and I'm having to take care of my little brothers and sisters, right? So I definitely felt some kind of way about that. And it got to the point where, you know, I'm like, okay, well, for my dad, the thing he values most is education, right? God, children, education, and watermelon is always on the menu. That's what he would say. And so since he felt that way, it was like, well, you know what? I'm just not going to do well in my classes, right? I'm just not going to try. And, you know, he, you know, I'll never forget it, which just infuriated me even more, right? So, you know, a little backstory. When we go down memory lane a little bit, you know, I was, you know, in gifted courses, as I said before, right? And so many of my other brothers and sisters were either in regular classes or special education courses, whatever the case may be. And so, you're you pride yourself on that. I was also the first one adopted. And so, I already felt betrayed and disenfranchised by the fact that he would have the audacity to adopt more kids, which is just crazy, right? Like, I'm an only child. How dare you adopt more kids? I need all the loving from grandma and auntie and from you. So he ends up adopting all these other kids. And, now I'm feeling some kind of way about that. And so you're kind of going through. And so on the one hand, I can, I might be able to empathize with what Kirk Franklin's son might be going through, what he was thinking, but not as an adult, right? As we're talking about, 9 and 10 and 11, 12 years old, having these feelings. So again, I'm fortunate that this is where he was in his life. But, growing up and feeling like, it was just supposed to be me. Now I'm in these classes. And so school was the thing, right? Also didn't like to be whooped. Back when I grew up, you got spanked, you got whipped. My principal would whip you, Miss Franklin, Dr. Franklin, rest in power. She had a brown paddle that had holes in it, and it whistled when she swung it, right? And she, whoo, boy, she would tear you up. And of course, her and my dad were friends. So, back in those days, there was way more sense of community, right? So there was no, I'm going to call my dad and let you know. It's like, no, your dad gave me the authority to do this, and best believe you're going to catch another one when you get home, and you're lucky if that's all you get. You better make sure you get home from the neighborhood first before the neighbor catches you. It's just kind of like that. So anyway, I didn't like to be whooped. So I'm definitely going to be the good kid. So I'm going to go to school, do my thing. I like school. I don't want to get in trouble. I'd rather you put me on restriction. My brother Tom, rest in power to him, he would rather take the whooping. For him, being put on restriction was like the worst thing ever. So it's like, I don't care what you just go on and beat me, get it over with. You could beat me for 2 hours if you wanted to. Just don't put me on restriction. So I remember one summer he was on restriction for the whole summer. And because there were so many kids that my dad adopted, we had a basketball hoop in our yard. We were like the neighborhood playground. So all the kids would come to our driveway and play in the summer. And he had to watch out of the bedroom window. I mean, it was torture. It was hot. He's on the third floor just looking out of the window. We're playing basketball, laughing. There must be 15 or 20 of us in the yard, right? And that was our spot. And so we would hang out there, and then, sometimes we'd go up to Emerson Elementary School and go and play around there, or go walk around the neighborhood, do whatever. Go to the store if we had a couple quarters, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, that's pretty sad, right? Because, at least you could see us and kind of talk to us if Dad wasn't there. If Dad was there, he couldn't talk to us, But then when we all leave, then he's just back stuck in the house. So he hated that. It was like, just whoop me. But for me, it's like, no, you could do just the opposite. Go ahead, put me on restriction. I love reading anyway. I would just read. But I don't want to take that butt whooping. So that's how it was. So, Tom was pretty funny with that. But anyway, so I would do what I needed to do school wise, and then that was okay. And I didn't have a problem with it. But, some of my other brothers and sisters, they struggled, right? They, were doing their things. A lot of them were older. So they, were dealing with different, staying out late, getting in trouble, smoking weed, whatever the case may be, right? And so I was too young to be thinking about any of those things. And so you're kind of going through. And so I'm looking at it like, well, if I don't do well in school because Dad values that so much, then I'll show him. It's my way to try to punish him. And so I'm thinking that that's going to get a rise out of him, and it just ended up being just the opposite. So he ends up just saying to me, well, son, it's up to you what you want to do in regards to your education. But, your grades are going to follow you, and that's going to impact you as you go into an adult. There was no restriction. There was no whipping. There was no nothing. And, he was definitely the master psychologist. I didn't even know what to think with that. It was just like, what did you do to me just now? I don't know how to respond. I don't know what to do with that. And so, I kind of went through that. Unfortunately, it did kind of have a negative effect because I just decided to rebel even more. Um, because I kind of took it like, well, you don't care, and that wasn't the case. But he just wasn't going to be kind of held hostage by what was a clear manipulation by myself to not, engage in my schoolwork. So that's really interesting. But just kind of reflecting back on that, not knowing what's behind, the son and his trauma in his 30s. Um, definitely needs to get some mental health counseling and kind of work through those traumas and try to repair that relationship. And I'm glad I was able to do that with my dad. Shoot, way back in 1997, because we didn't talk for 10 years because I left home right at the ninth grade. So I'm always thankful that we were able to reconnect and get strong there. So I got to say, I'm having some wicked problems with Zoom. I don't know why it is not allowing me to connect. I don't want to reset my computer, but I may need to do that just to see what's going on. So I'm broadcasting just fine, but Zoom is not working. Now, it could be because there was a government Zoom meeting and they were having some issues too. So it could be that Zoom is down. So let me go ahead and send Corey a message here. Maybe I'll have him call me. We won't be able to see him, but we'll still be able to do the interview that way because this is just bizarre. So I wonder if any of you have any stories like that where you tried to outsmart your parents, try some reverse psychology that didn't work, or they tried some reverse psychology on you, or your kids had tried something like that, and how you navigated around that. It's funny, I can laugh about it now. It wasn't funny at the time, but now you can see how silly it was. But back then, my how old are you in the seventh grade? Like 13. My 12 or 13-year-old self just thought I had all the answers, and I was just gonna outsmart him. So little did I know. He had me outgunned by more than half. So I was not equipped for what he was gonna for his logic on that. But it taught me so many different things. As an adult, kind of thinking back on why he would do that, not understanding it at the time, and even in my young adulthood, not understanding it. But now, being to a point, let me go ahead and just send this to Elijah. Elijah, Zoom is not working. Please call we will be live on air through audio. All right. So I'm sending that to Elijah. Hopefully he'll get that message and then call in. And we'll still go ahead and have our interview. What was I saying? So, the things that I learned from that was, you can't live for someone else. You've got to live for yourself, right? So I'm not going to go to class. I'm not going to get good grades, and I'm thinking that that's going to hurt my father. And basically what he said to me at that young age was, well, yeah, sure. It's disappointing that you would make that choice, but ultimately you're going to have to live with your decisions, right? I'm not going to live your life. You've got to live your life. So if you're going to choose to make your life harder, then that is what you're going to do. My job is to raise you, do the best job that I can do there, teach you lessons, show you the pathway, for him being a Baptist minister, make sure that I know who the Lord is, um, and he can go in peace, uh, in that he did the best that he could. And one of the things that he also told me that I thought was really good, and I kind of try to share that with my kids, and typically my older one, is, you know, for you're trying to be a parent. There's no blueprint for that, right? And you're navigating different waters, especially if you're a non-custodial parent and you're immature and all the things that kind of go with that. Back in my 20s, and so the advice that you can give to your kids as they become parents is, look back on how I tried to raise you. At the time, I tried to do the best that I could uh, at that time. Now, to be honest, and I think a lot of people don't say this, is everyone doesn't always do the best they could. There were times when I didn't care, so I wasn't trying at all. So, saying a blanket statement like, well, I did the best that I could under the circumstances. Like, no, you didn't, right? So I can admit that. No, I didn't. Uh, because I was about me back then. So, but for the times that I was there, and throughout, right, from childhood into young adulthood, the best advice that can be given is, take the things that you believe that I did well and use those things. The things that you feel like I didn't do well, go ahead and reject those things, right? Let those things go. And I thought that was really powerful because I needed to hear that from my dad, where he didn't feel like he was perfect in all that he did, right? And it's tough. I can understand how Kirk Franklin's son felt because I'm a PK kid, right? I'm a preacher's kid. And so not only is my dad Reverend Cameron, but he was also the principal of Armin Jar, Mount Lake Terrace, and the African American Academy, and here and there, and this, that, and the other. And so he was a very influential person in the community. And by and large, the outward-facing community loved my father, right? Um, and so that is really tough on a kid that's like, it ain't all like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you think he's all great, this and that. It ain't all good, because he's the disciplinarian, right? He's the parent. And so he has to be that way. But to everyone else, they see something else. And so as a kid, you can take it that way. So it's hard living, kind of in the shadow of a powerful person that casts such a huge shadow, right? And for him to say, son, I didn't do everything right. I did the best that I could. And for him, I actually believe that he did the best that he could, right? I mean, at 24, as a single man, he decided to adopt me and then go on and adopt 17 other kids. Something that he did not have to do. That was just something that the Lord put on his spirit, and he did that, right? My dad could have lived a really, really good life as a principal and a single man, living in Kitsap County and all the different places that he lived. And he had aspirations of traveling and doing all kinds of really great things. And he gave those things away because his priority was trying to save as many kids that he believed, he could, change our lives. And so that is the direction that he went into. And it's, again, every time I think on that, it's like I can't fathom it. Even in my 48-year-old body, and as mature as I believe myself to be now, I still don't think I'm the mentality of the 24-year-old him. He just was so ahead of the curve as far as his maturity and his heart and his willing to give and change the lives of other people. A lot of times we may donate some cash, we may donate a little bit of time, but to have someone come into your home and change that whole dynamic. And he had a belief where, It was like, I don't believe in foster care, right? He believed if someone was going to come into your home and be there on kind of a long term thing, he believed that you should adopt them. If they're going to be part of your family, then you make them part of your family. And so every kid that ever came into the house was under the guise of this is going to move toward adoption unless the placement just doesn't work. Uh, and so that was really powerful because out of all the places that I've ever stayed, even though I struggled during my time as I came into my adolescence there, that was a place where I knew that I was wanted, I was loved, I was a Cameron, and I belonged. Right. That was definitely my experience, and I stayed a lot of places. I lived in a lot of foster homes, a lot of group homes. Uh, I've been in a lot of places, and that just didn't feel that way, right? Even though they tell you that you're one of theirs and whatnot, the treatment is just still different, right? The avocation when things happen is just a little bit different. When stuff really gets serious, it's just a little bit different, and you feel that, right? And I've been in homes where folks tried the best they could, but I've also been in places where literally, Christmas is, hey, if there's any money left over on what the state gave us, then maybe we get you something. But if not, you can watch us all sit here and open gifts. I mean, I've I've been in some experiences where it's like, wow, so that's tough. That's tough. But I think his lessons were really profound on me. And thinking back on it, I can see those things now. So I'm very thankful to my father for the lessons that he taught. Even those, and I wonder, did he have the foresight? Uh, did he know that some of the things that he was teaching at that time were things that I couldn't necessarily uh, have a really good strong uh, grasp of what he was saying and what the intention was, but that later on in life that I would have that and would be able to use it. So it's just something else. But again, that lesson is uh, as you are parenting your kids, take the good from your parents and throw out the bad stuff, right? And we would have those conversations when I was adopted from my dad or by my dad. That was 1978, right? So you whipped your kids back then. And as time went on, as we got through the 80s and the 90s, right, those things started to fade away into the 2000s. That really was, for the most part, kind of a thing of the past. And so watching, the new generations of Camerons come through, and it's like, Dad, you're not gonna. Do you see what they just did? You're not gonna get that ass. You're not gonna beat them. No, son, I'm not. It's a different time now. It's like, what are you talking about? We would be dead if we did something like that. So, it's a shock. It's like, what is happening? So, and I don't think that's unique to adopted homes. For kids that maybe your parents had kids early and then really late or remarried or had a blended family, and those things kind of change over the decades. Then you see that too. So it's like, I we the OG Cameron kids, we were just sitting all like, who are you and what did you do with our dad? Because you would have beat us a long time ago. We didn't even got close to doing that. And my dad was a master. He was definitely a 33 degree, whatever the highest form of ninjutsu. That's what he was. I remember Tom. He was acting up in Vacation Bible School. Shout out to Dr. Reverend Laverne Hall. And I don't know what my brother was doing, but my dad was in the kitchen. And so at Mount Zion in Seattle, it's like one of the biggest Black Baptist churches in Western Washington. I think in the state of Washington, actually. I don't know what Tom was doing. He was doing something. Man, my dad got a butcher knife out of the commercial kitchen at the church and whipped my brother's behind with it and didn't cut him one time. I mean, he was masterful. So he was a Da Vinci with the spanking tool, whatever that tool was. And boy, the embarrassment on that, boy, woo! I don't think I could have ever lived down getting whipped in church in front of everybody. But yeah, Tom took one of those. He took one of those, boy. We would tease him about that, even in adulthood. Like, oh, you remember that time, Tom? Dad whipped your ass in the church. Oh man. Oh, and he can laugh about it, but he's still a little salty about that one. Oh boy. Mm-mm-mm. I'll tell you one day about the story of me and Tom running away after we had scared my little sister. But Tom used to always get me into trouble, and he's the older brother, and I looked up to him. And man, he would just get me doing stuff. He's always pulling pranks on people, even me. I don't like fireworks because of Tom. Yeah, but he would just do things. But boy, yeah, Tom was funny. Tom was funny. But yeah, those lessons are good. Think about those lessons. Reflect on those things. And I said we had some really good conversations today. As I said, some other ones that are a little bit more stressful. When you think about the affirmation bowl, which I haven't talked about in a while because I've been doing so many interviews. Today I would say my affirmation would be the memory that I do have. Uh, talk about folks with different people about Alzheimer's and just how scary and sad it is at the same time to lose your memory, right? To not know who the person is in front of you, to be afraid of that person, to feel like you're being threatened, to have your whole life lived and those memories just kind of come in flashes if they come back at all, and how sad that is. And so today I'm thankful for the memories that I do have of my father and my family, both good and bad, and being able to look at it in a reflective space and in a space of learning, right? Learning about myself, learning about, why I am who I am, why I do the things that I do, why I think the way that I think. And just being thankful for that. And I really am. And that really helps get you through, days where, you just feel like, folks seem, or the world, not necessarily folks, but the world seems to be conspiring against you. You just want to do the work, and, it's so simple, right? It's like you want to kiss it. Keep it simple, stupid. And, folks are just making it difficult. It's like, just trying to help people. Why are you making it difficult? But it is what it is. Those are the things that you have to go through. And if life was easy, would probably not be life fulfilled. So I get it. What I am going to do, though, is because I just can't get this Zoom to work. I'm going to go ahead and restart the computer, and then I'm going to jump back online. So I'm going to go ahead and play our music. Because if nothing else, I think it was a great reflection. All right, let me get some Flonase. Woo, I cannot breathe.